before you actually begin animating, we do want to ask ourselves questions regarding the scene. So in this case, we do have a character lifting a heavy weight. So one question might be, how heavy is that weight? Because that's definitely going to be a factor. Another question we can ask is, how heavy is the character? Because that's definitely going to be a factor too. Then we can ask, how old is he and how strong is he? Then we need to get into his mind, so to speak. We need to figure out his personality. And personality is something we definitely don't want to leave out in animation, as it is one of those essential principles, because we all do have personality, therefore our characters should too. So to answer the questions above, we can say that the weight is about maybe 200 pounds or so, and the character, he's about maybe 190, 185, 190, around there. So we're going to have him lift the weight. So we can see his strength, but he is going to put forth a struggle, as we'll see a little bit later on. And for his age, we can say he's about maybe 25 years old. For as far as his character, let's say that he's a strong-willed type of guy, maybe a little bit of a show-off, but we'll have him be a little bit embarrassed when he's struggling to lift the weight. He's not going to do it on his first try, as we'll see right now, actually. Because what I also want to mention is that we will be going by storyboards. And if you don't use storyboards before you begin animating, please get into the habit of doing so, as it will help by giving your scene direction rather than facing it head on and not having it come out as good as it could have been. So we definitely want to use storyboards, and they don't have to be anything detailed at all. They can be stick figures and still be successful. You just want to have a rough idea in your storyboards. So let's take a look at the storyboards we'll be going by. So as we can see, there's about 10 major poses, 10 extremes that we're going to be posing out. Just be mainly your extremes. You don't have to go do anything further than that. But certain poses, like on drawing 5, will actually consist of 2, okay, where the character has finally lifted the weight off the floor. And as we can see, these are mainly the steps that a weightlifter will go through when lifting a weight like this. So in drawing 1, we see that the character is preparing himself, probably thinking to himself, I'm too strong and this weight is nothing. And then by drawing 2, he's preparing himself, he's squatted down, hands on the bar, and he's ready to lift this weight up. By drawing 3, we can see that the character's definitely underestimated the weight, and he's really putting forth a struggle, really putting a sweat. And by drawing 4, we can see that now he's really determined. He's going to put forth more strength this time, really squatted down even more than drawing 2, because he's going to lift this weight. He's determined. Then on drawing 5, we can see that that's where the character is finally going to lift the weight off the floor, but definitely with a struggle. Then by drawing 6, this is where he springs up, because he's going to throw the weight up to his chest, as we see on drawing 7. Then on drawing 8, that's when the character has successfully thrown the weight above his head. Drawing 9 is where he's finally able to stand upright with the weight. And drawing 10 is where we see that the character has thrown the weight down and has gone into a victory stance because he's accomplished a major feat. So that's the storyboards we're going to go by, and as you can see, there's little notes that I've written down next to a few of the poses, which is also helpful to do. But with all of these things said and done, we're now ready to begin animating. So first, let's make sure that our character set is activated, so we can see that all of the keys that we'll be placing for our extremes will go on the frames that we want them to. And also, let's turn off this select by object type geometry button, so we don't accidentally select any geometry, just our control curves. And we're ready to begin. So we'll pose out our character based off of our storyboards, and also we'll go ahead and pose out the character every 10 frames. Unless there's any areas of tension, then we'll go every 20 frames pretty much. And that's by no means is the correct timing. That's just an initial step in achieving good timing. But let's go ahead and begin. We'll start on frame 1. Put our first pose there. So for this, again, we want to pose based off of our storyboards. And also, I do want to mention that for translation mode, I am using local mode. And for rotate mode, I'm using local mode as well. So please make sure that you have those set, just so that your settings match mine. So let's begin. And we'll start by posing the character out, giving him more of a confident stance, maybe bird chested. Okay, sticking his chest out there and give him a good posture too. Maybe move him forward. We want to make sure that he's balanced in his poses, and we also want to make sure that our poses have a good silhouette, a nice silhouette, because that's going to lead to a successful animation where the audience can actually read your animation, what's going on. So we do want to make sure that we have that. Okay, so we have the character look down at the weight. As far as his arms, let's go ahead and work on those. Bring his shoulders forward some. And we'll give his arms a more tougher looking pose. Give him a fist. We'll just go to the wrist control and bring up the fist all the way. Then we'll do something similar to the left arm. We don't want it to keep things exactly similar, because then it won't look natural, but close enough to being symmetrical. Okay, our pose is coming out pretty good so far. Make sure that the character's balanced. And let's go ahead and spread his legs a little bit. Give him more of a natural stance. And we'll also go to the heel pivot and have his heels stick out, or his feet stick out for the same reason. Okay, maybe we could give him a little lean to the side to again keep the animation a little bit more natural. And as far as the hips, we won't really worry about that now until it's really time to, when we start smoothing things out. But there's pretty much our first pose. We do want to make sure that the character is balanced. Okay, so we've got our first pose in. Now, based off of our storyboards, we can go to our next pose, and let's just go to frame 10 for that. So frame 1 was the only one that's really going to be off the 10 count, but that's fine. So on frame 10, we'll put out our next pose where the character is now going to be preparing to lift the weight. So we'll squat it down. So we'll select the center of gravity control, the knee controls, and also the feet controls. And let's go ahead and translate the character forward some so he can give himself a better position. So we'll have him take a few steps forward. Okay, and also spread his legs just a little bit more. Not too much. Yeah, I brought that right foot a little bit too much over, and then we can bring his heels out a little bit more based off of the steps. Then we'll squat him down. Another thing we want to be concerned about is the line of action. Okay, and there's we have the C curves for a line of action, as we're about to pretty much give our character. Then we have the S curves, then even the straight lines. So that's definitely as important as the silhouette of the character. So for here, we'll go ahead and have him squat down. So this is going to be more of an S curve, as we can see from looking at the character's back, line of action here. And we'll translate the head up and rotate it up. And make sure we're pretty much like only rotating in the X, okay, and translating in the Z for now. Then we'll go back and add a few more channels into our animation. And also we will be switching between IK and FK mode, so we'll get that involved, as well as another switch, as we'll see a little bit later on. But for now, let's go ahead and select the right wrist control, and we can select the left, shift select the left, and we have an IK-FK switch channel, so we can just put in a value of 0, and now the arm switch to IK mode. So we'll take our controls now and place them on the barbell so that the character will have his hands planted on there. Okay. And we'll spread him out a little bit so he's got a comfortable position to lift the weight. And we can work on this left hand now, getting that on the barbell. rotate it, bring it down so that it's on the bar. Okay. I think it could be positioned a little bit better than it is. There we go. And we'll rotate it down. Alright, and I think we could even bring the elbow controls forward. Bring his elbows up a little bit more. As far as the shoulders, they definitely need to go back based off of him lowering himself with his arms planted. And I'd like to see the elbows back a little bit more than they are right now. Maybe we could translate them down and then translate them back. Okay, so we can check out this next pose. Does it have a good silhouette? Maybe we could bring out the knees a little bit more than they are. And I think that's pretty good for now. So we can see definitely see the line of action now in the back. But okay, so we now have 2 poses in our animation set, and that completes this lesson. So in the next lesson, we'll continue this process of posing out our extremes.